Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Khabri and Arun Foot. We're back doing one more Candid Football Conversations episode, and it's time to talk about the Kalinga Super Cup. We finally have clarity about what is going to happen in the tournament, where it's happening, when it's happening, what teams are participating in it. So, Anova, right off the bat, we know it's happening in January. Happy to see it happen around the same time as the AFC Asian Cup.
Well, Rahul, it's two-edged sword. I would say. No? On one side, it's good to have the competition happening. On the other side, we can discuss the timing. Is it better now to hold it in January, which is sort of a mid-season tournament, or would have it been better to hold it post-season in April, May, as it has been happening in the last few years? And also, the top teams are going to be missing their sort of star players, their Indian internationals, or even their foreigners who play for Asian sides or African sides. If there are foreigners, there are a few. So therefore, that's an issue. So for the top teams, it is an issue. They will miss their best players. The coaches might think it would have been better in January to have a little bit of off time, have a mid-season break, get some training in, look at reinforcements, look at new signings, and then restart the ISL post AFC Asian Cup. And that's not going to happen. Now the tournament has been slotted in. Now this year going to be called Kalinga Super Cup. So the Odisha government has come forward, and as a fan, I would like to say a big thank you to Odisha once more coming in the support of Indian football. 9th of January, the tournament's going to kick off, and the final is going to be held on the 28th. We will have pre-qualifiers for the I-League teams, and then they will have a group stage.
Yeah, so four groups of four, and then you have the top team qualifying from each group to play the semis, and then of course you have the finals, and then the winner gets qualification into ACL2 preliminary stages. Because another the thing is with Asian competition up for grabs, a slot in Asian competition, don't you feel like some of the clubs would have certain problems with this? Because then you don't have, I mean, of course you don't have your star players, especially clubs that have a lot of national team stars in their side, because Asian competition is it's a huge deal for us in Indian football.
It is something of what the Americans do, MLS, or North Americans rather. MLS has even run in summers through a FIFA World Cup, or the MLS playoffs were also held last year during the World Cup in Qatar. So there are precedents of competitions happening while the national team is on the road. Again, the question is was there a better time potentially, or are you looking at the June window regarding the World Cup qualifiers so that Igor Stimac gets an extended camp with the boys? That might also be a reason to say, listen, do I push this into January? Again, as I said, I'm not a fan of this window. I think most of the coaches will not be a fan of this window, but again, it puts an emphasis on them because there is an AFC Champions League 2, the new tournament which is going to come in the place of the AFC Cup from next season onwards. Because unlike the Super Cup in the past, you did not know if you are champion of the ISL and would potentially go on to get you have already a slot, right? So therefore these kind of permutations comes in. So it's interesting to see, because you'll have 4 groups of 4, which means you'll have 3 teams from the ISL plus a qualifying team from the I-League, semi-finals and final. And then we'll see who's going to win it. It's interesting because there is also the point that the FFF said that the Federation Cup would come back this season, which didn't, due to them realizing there's a scheduling issue because there's a lot of football happening from August to the end of this year, especially for the 3 teams who are playing in AFC Champions League and AFC Cup, besides the national team players. So therefore, that's been an issue. So on that front, it's good that the Super Cup is back because it's also part of the club licensing. So it's important that this competition happens. And again, yes, the group stage is also there to ensure that each team has a minimum number of games, which can then be added up for the criteria for, country affiliation to Asian competitions.
Yeah, absolutely. Another, again, the teams to sort of look out for in these cup competitions, do you see it anyway playing out differently from league stages? Of course, last year you had Mumbai, who could play a weekend squad because they had won the the ISL. Not going to happen this time. So expect almost every single team to play their strongest squad. And do you see any particular teams doing well in these cup competitions, given the fact that certain top players will be missing for top clubs?
I see that Mohun Bagan, Mumbai City, Goa will lose crucial players. Not only them, but also if you look at East Bengal, will be without Mahesh Naorem, without Lalchand Nunga potentially. BFC missing Sunil, missing Suresh in their squad. So, most of the teams will be weakened by this. So it's going to be interesting to see. Odisha won the last Super Cup, and that's why they're playing at all in the AFC Cup. Have Sergio Lobera there in charge. So it's an interesting thing for the teams to see who's going to be playing. So in that way, for Mumbai City to be able to play Champions League with an all-Indian squad, giving exposure to boys who potentially then will also have to play the Super Cup, because that squad is going to miss Chankte. It's going to miss Apuya. It's going to miss more players in that, right? So therefore, yeah, it's an interesting one to call out a favorite, because we'll have to see which squads are going to be in this competition.
But again, it's also so interesting because Odisha is probably the perfect example, right? Now, I mean, they qualified through the cup last year, and now they've given themselves a great chance of getting out of that group. I mean, of course, there's still a game to go in the AFC Cup group stages, but very important competition, and expecting all teams to take it seriously, right?
Yes, I mean, they will take it seriously, even though I feel that one of their coach might say, depending on what the situation is in regard to the ISL, trying to get into the playoffs or not get into the playoffs, that they might rest the one of their player who might be coming back from an injury or, might not be 100% fit. So that might happen. While other coaches will go all out. And it will be interesting also to see, what kind of groupings do we have, because last season we had, some interesting groups, BFC playing the Blasters directly after that infamous playoff match in the ISL. So therefore, it's going to be interesting to see who plays whom and when and where. And again, it's good to see that the tournament in per se is back. Again, we can discuss the timing, but again, good to see that there is a national cup competition.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, Arnava, expectations from the I-League teams who sort of gave a good account of themselves last year.
We look back, especially in that group with BFC and Blasters. You had Roundglass and Srinidhi, and especially Srinidhi did well. Roundglass didn't get the results. So I do think that if a Srinidhi, if a Mohammedan Sporting, if a Gokulam Kerala get into the league stage of the Super Cup, they could be a potential threat for the ISL teams.
Fair enough. Okay. Again, guys, Super Cup now scheduled to take place in January. So it's a nice little cup competition. It's always fun to have these cup competitions throughout within the footballing calendars. And that's basically a short clip from us. Thanks, Arnava, on the Kalinga Super Cup, as we're now going to call it. Please do like, share Sports Kabri and Arun Foot, and stay tuned and watch out for more content. Thanks, Arnava.
Bye, everyone.